Hey everybody, welcome back to our financial literacy video series, joined with Ashley. Ashley, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Really good. Excited to talk to everyone again about our topic. So the topic of today is saving for your child's education. We get a lot of questions about that. I guess we should start with kind of this mix between a behavioral finance, which we'll talk about in the next series, and then also just goals. But a lot of folks struggling to make a budget, to understand what they really want to pay for and cover. A lot of families want to save on one extreme for a private school such as GW or Boston University or one of the really expensive private schools. Other folks who may have their own student loan debt and know what that was like to go through undergrad and graduate school with student loan debt, want to start there. So I think it's really important to understand what it is that you want to cover for your child or grandchild, and start there and have that conversation with your spouse or significant other. So I think that that's a really good place to start. Also, a lot of families have to make a decision between saving for themselves. We talked about debt, so other things within the budget, of course, that would factor into that discussion. And I don't know, what do you think about that as you've seen kind of these conversations unfold?
Yeah, I think we like to think about it as a discussion first. I think that's where we usually start with our financial planning clients. It's a conversation of saving for your children, also saving for yourself. So I think there's a balance there. And then, like Brad was mentioning, how much do you really want to save? Or do you want them to take on student loans and a little bit of debt? Do you want to overfund the whole thing? And if you want to talk about, Brad, a little bit, the different things that you could use a 529 fund for, because it's not just for school. And I feel like a lot of people have questions about that of just being for the tuition itself.
Sure. So you definitely brought up a good, so we want to talk about 529 plans as a potential avenue for college education. Of course, there's other vehicles, but we'll focus on this one at first. So I would check with your CPA. Depending on the state in which you live in, there may be a state tax deduction. Again, no federal deduction is saved for a 529, but depending on the state in which you live in, of course, there will be state tax benefits. Some states, such as Florida, of course, don't have a state deduction. So you might want to, as we said, check with your CPA there. But assuming that we're talking about a 529 plan, of course, there was, as part of the 2018 tax changes, they've expanded what a 529 can pay for. So that's a great discussion point. $10,000 a year of K through 12 private education, which is brand new for that. Of course, we get a lot of discussion now as COVID has hit and maybe people are thinking about non-traditional degrees, such as professional degrees, not necessarily college education, but there's a whole list, which you'll link in the show notes, of the code 529 in which it could pay for. So you have room and board, computers, books, other things. So if you're going to a trade school or something else, there might be things that you could pay for as it relates to that as well. You brought up a really interesting point about how much to fund. Want to remind everyone that the owner is the owner and the beneficiary can change. So if you have multiple children or grandchildren and the oldest one doesn't use all the funds, you can change the beneficiary to another person or one of your other children or grandchildren. So it's not lost there. We'll link the IRS PDF that you mentioned in the show notes to give people a better understanding. So it's not just for tuition. Great point. Also, some folks are sending their kids to private school given lockdowns and other things within public schools. So certainly expanded what you can pay for, but definitely good to have that values conversation, intentional spending, as we've talked about numerous times, and what you hope to achieve for your child and or grandchild.
Yeah, that's a great point. And do you want to discuss any other ways to save for college if the 529 plan isn't for a certain person?
Sure. So I think that that's certainly, as we say, gets personal. So want to have everybody talk about their unique situation. But of course, if you don't want to have that money locked in for college education, but do want to save for your children. There are custodial accounts. And of course, if you have a child that is working, you might want to look into a Roth IRA for them. Remember, 5-year rule, are able to deduct that money tax-free. So if they're in high school and may be a little late to the saving for college party, but do have a job, they could save for a Roth. So just passing tax year 21 with the deadline just passed us on Monday, but something to think about for the 22 tax year. So great points there.
Great. Do you have anything else that you want to touch on before we wrap up?
No, I think that, of course, people are concerned about inflation, especially in this time, and the cost of college is definitely inflated and has gone up quite substantially since I know I was at school. So people should really think about the trade-offs between what they want to fund and what they think the future cost of college may be, and certainly balance that out within their budget between now and what they might want to do and what they might want to save for the future. Remember to look up the gift tax laws and exemptions, depending on if you're a grandparent or a parent trying to fund this. And there's certainly some estate planning and tax things to think about. So work with your team of advisors, estate planning attorney, CPA, and of course your financial advisor to figure out what's best for you.
Great. Yeah. And if you guys have any questions about 529 or just saving for college in general, let us know. info@Sherman Wealth. We'd be happy to set up some time to have a conversation and let us know what else you guys want to hear from us.
Great. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, everyone.